is that Donald Trump is very unstable and brought back the Gunberg Society, which has to do with cutting everything in government and giving it to the upper classes in the form of a tax cut.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Susan Weil, and first let me say this is the tallest you will ever see me. Thanks to the stool that they graciously provided to me. The fastest way to fix a broken system is to take it over, and that's what I think we must do this year.
We forget that in the 19th century, it was the Irish. In the late 19th century, it was the Italians. In the earliest part of the 20th century, it was the Chinese Exclusion Act. In the 1940s, we sent tens of thousands of Jewish children away to their own destruction. Today, Anne Frank with the Assyrian girl. The reality is, we have to have that conversation first. We can't fix what we are unable to face. And we have to have a serious, soul-searching conversation at the national level and at the local level so that we can look each other in the eye and not use these universal, broad-span axioms of all immigrants are, fill in the blank, lazy, criminals, rapists. When we do that, we dog whistle and we tune into the very worst part of our souls as human beings. We have to have that conversation.
When I was growing up, my parents had a small travel agency in East Allentown. And because of organized labor, they were successful. And they never belonged to a union. Organized labor provides people with stable employment, which allows you to look to buy a house, maybe to travel. It provides you with disposable income, which you spend in the community. It is the rock-solid foundation for us as a middle class. And as organized labor has eroded, so has the middle class. Also on the income side, senior citizens have been clearly cheated out of an adequate cost of living adjustment for Social Security. Not just working people that are falling behind, so are senior citizens. Healthcare is way too expensive. Especially for somebody in my age category. I'm 57 and I'm a walking time bomb according to the insurers. Childcare is outrageous. If we support people for work, we need to support quality childcare at extremely reasonable prices. And finally, as we all know, student debt. So let's look at both ends. Let's look at income and then let's look at also helping people with their expenses. Thank you.
They work very closely to get the Construction Misclassification Act passed in Pennsylvania, which was to protect labor unions on the job from people who are classified as independent contractors when they really shouldn't be. And I was the only district attorney in Pennsylvania to convene a grand jury to enforce this act, working very closely. We made arrests here in the Lehigh Valley for people who were violating this law. And no other DA did that.
Secondly, I believe that we need to invest very heavily in our infrastructure. I don't think there's a lot of doubt about that. And the first thing that I would say that has to happen is that all federal infrastructure projects must require that workers be permitted the right to organize, and must require that also of any subcontractors and contractors on the job.
We have to fight this false narrative that's created by the folks that make $2,500 an hour, telling folks that make $25 an hour to hate folks that make $7.50 an hour. Until our members of Congress and our citizens stand in solidarity. Solidarity means that you tie your fate, your economic fate is tied to the fate of a struggling person economically. Then the votes change, then the conversation changes, and then legislation like the Employee Free Choice Act, like the Paycheck Fairness Act, which allows women to be able to get equal pay for equal work. Those acts will be passed, but they won't be passed without courage.
Right.
Pennsylvania has more pipelines running through it than we have roads without potholes. We have a responsibility to steward the earth and to leave the earth in a better condition than when we found it. clean water, renewable energy, incentivizing organizations and smart startups that can help pay for themselves, and disincentivizing fossil fuels.
There was a huge push by the Bethlehem administration at that time to put an incinerator in Bethlehem. And this was at that time a state-of-the-art way to deal with disposals and waste. What I did was I drafted a 25-page memorandum that swayed a couple councilmen to vote against it, and it was defeated on a 4-3 vote. And people were very mad at me. They said that I basically screwed how we were going to dispose of sludge and landfill waste. Years later, it was determined when other cities went that route that it was a disaster. It was a huge fluke, and I take credit for saving Bethlehem and the Lehigh Valley from that incinerator back in 1989. So I do believe that we have to protect our environment. It's an area, to be honest with all of you, that I'm looking for guidance on from those who are really into the environmental issues, and I will listen very closely to those folks who have the same thoughts on the specifics of that problem. Thank you.
One of the greatest embarrassments of this administration, in my view, is the abject denial of basic scientific principles. And we must get back to believing in science. The fact that we are the only first world country to not have signed the Paris Accord is ridiculous, and we must get back to that. We cannot permit this administration to continue to decimate our natural resources, our national parks, the Arctic National Wildlife Region, and so many others. We must incentivize renewable technologies. The future of American energy is in renewable technologies and manufacturing. And let me point out that that is also a job creator. We must head in that direction. And that's what one of the first things that I would want to do as Congresswoman for the 7th District is to bring renewable technologies to this area. And finally, we have to demand equity in our environmental policies. I don't think it's an overstatement to say that it is a civil justice issue to correct our environmental policies, because bad environmental policies invariably affect the poor communities first and foremost.
Water is our most precious resource, and this container is extremely destructive. We need to focus research on bioplastics, which are there to improve, and we need to do it fast. I support research and development for all renewable energy sources. We need to eat and grow locally our food supplies. We need to federally support vegetable growing and organic growing, not just the mass crops of corn and wheat and soy. And corn in particular consumes a lot of oil to produce. You need to eat more vegetables. And vegetables are better for your health, but also better for the environment, and they use less petroleum. So when you're running to be a legislator, you have to look how things intersect. And it's a powerful intersection to be eating vegetables and less beef, in particular. And your grandma said you should do it. I also think personally, we need to try to make those little choices. My middle son needed a car, so we gifted the car to him, and that was over the summer. We said, you know, we're going to get by in one car. And I use the bus. And I'm lucky where I live, I can get the bus to work. But all of us, if we can make small personal decisions that push us in the direction of helping the environment, nothing dramatic, nothing that gets in the morning call, but definitely we have to focus on that. And also geoengineering to clean up some carbon in the atmosphere in addition to renewable energy sources. Thank you.